In a recent video on the Shill's channel, Mathieus The Walking Witness claims that math doesn't represent reality, and he did it by taking a page out of the Anthony Riley playbook. Instead of ice creams, it was apples. Mathieus is just another flerf parrot, so much so that my wife doesn't even believe he's a flat earther. She may be right, because every argument I've heard from him is just parroting the same electro-flerfspectivism that we hear over and over again. Well, I'm going to set both Mathieus and, in particular, Riley straight. First, a quick shout out to Ryder of Dinosaurs. He created the intro video you're about to see. The final link to his channel in the description below. If you haven't already subscribed, you should. There's also a link to the Shill's channel and the video in question where Mathieus makes some of his more stupider claims. What Riley, Mathieus, and most flerfs for that matter, don't seem to understand is that examples of negative ice cream and negative apples are evidence of absolutely nothing. It's not even a very good example. Abbott and Costello's 7 times 13 is 28 routine, that's a funny example. There'll be a link to that in the description. Hell, I can come up with literally dozens of such examples. There are whole books on math, jokes, tricks, and puzzles. So what? None of that is evidence that math can't represent reality. All it's evidence of is math, tricks, jokes, and puzzles. In fact, making such an unfounded claim is actually a logical fallacy. It's like saying all crows are black and all crows are birds, therefore all birds must be black. It just plain doesn't work. It's also a straw man argument, a rather effective one at that. One that keeps people talking about negative ice creams and apples. And those of us that know the earth is a globe need to stop falling into that trap. We need to stop reacting to a flerf claim and start asking the right questions. Questions like, how does this example invalidate an analytical solution to a given physical model? In general, we need to start questioning how examples provided by flerfs support their claims. Globe deniers don't seem to understand that making a claim is not actually evidence of that claim. Saying a rock thrown off a cliff falls downward is a demonstration of the force of relative density is not evidence. I could just as easily say it's a clear demonstration of the force due to midichlorians. That doesn't make it evidence. The fact is, math can and is used to describe reality every day. And let me be clear, I'm not saying math represents reality because it's something I blindly believe based on what I heard at school. I'm a mechanical engineer. I use math to represent reality on a daily basis. So the customer calls, I evaluate and analyze the system and tell them how to fix their problem. All with math. I know math can describe reality because it's literally my job. Do you flerfs even think about the things you say, or are you just so desperate to shut down our arguments that it doesn't even occur to you how absurd the claims you're making sound when you listen to yourself say them? Seriously, did it occur to even one of you that there are hundreds of millions of people who need to use math on a daily basis as part of their jobs? Everyone from cashiers to construction workers, salesmen to scientists, factory workers to engineers, and more. All of them use math on a daily basis, and it is their reality. If you drive a late model car, guess what? It was partially or even wholly designed in a virtual environment using nothing but a computer and math. Even to the point that the preliminary crash testing is done in a virtual environment. You save a whole lot of money because you got to crash less cars. So you flerfs are going to get rid of your cars now, right? Buy horses and buggies. If you're driving your family around in a car that was designed using nothing but math, you can't trust it, right? You have to get rid of it, don't you? Filling out your tax forms, calculating the tax you owed. Go ahead. Tell the government math doesn't represent reality, so I don't got to pay you. See how that works out for you. If your calculations show that you're getting a refund, I damn well know you'll make sure you get paid, though, won't you? A family going over their budget, seeing how they could pay for their child's college tuition, you bet your life that's math representing reality. The device you're watching this video on was designed in math, using math. Aircraft, guess what? Designed using math. The school bus your kids go to school in, the bridge you drive over, the fucking coffee maker on your kitchen counter, all designed with math. So what's the big deal? Why do you globe-denying flerfs claim we can't use math to describe reality? And I'll tell you why. Because flerfs are afraid of math. For instance, I've got a ramp. It's in my neighbor's backyard. It's about 150 feet from my swimming pool. I've got a ball of a given size and weight, taking into account the friction of the ramp, wind speed and direction, and using standard ballistic trajectory equation, an equation that contains a term for gravity. I can calculate the force needed to launch a ball off that ramp 150 feet into the center of my pool. Using buoyancy, the buoyancy equation, another equation that contains a term for gravity, I can tell you whether or not the ball will float. And if it does float, I could tell you how much of that ball will be above and below the waterline when it comes to rest. It works every time, and you globe-denying flerfs can't deal with it. And that's why flerfs are afraid of math. Mathieus and Riley know they can't possibly quantify some mythical relative density force, so they just say math doesn't represent reality. That way they can avoid having to admit they don't have the first clue how to even begin trying to create an analytical model for relative density. They're also dishonest as hell about it. Case in point, during a discussion with the shills, Mathieus kept going on about an apple falling due to relative density. Throw that apple off a 2,000-foot cliff, what does it do? Well, it falls, of course. And we know as altitude increases, pressure and thus density decreases. And that's what the shills are trying to get Mathieus to understand. Why would an apple fall from the lower density of 2,000 feet into an increasing density and accelerate while it's doing it, all the way down? Mathieus knew he had no answer to that question. So being the dishonest little flerf he is, he kept repeating the same phrase over and over again. Are you trying to say that the atmosphere is more denser than an apple? That's all he would say. Wouldn't answer a single question. Typical. But that's okay. Because Anthony Riley, he's actually debunked relative density as a force. He doesn't even know it. How, you ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Riley did an experiment to demonstrate that by changing the density of a medium, he can cause an egg to move. And he did it. He put salt into the water, and the egg rose up through the water column. He was so proud of himself. But here's the thing. As the density of the medium, the water, increased, the egg rose. It went up as density increased. Now, why as density increases in the water does the egg rise. But if I throw that same egg off a 2,000-foot cliff, the egg will fall as density of the medium increases. And it'll accelerate while it's doing it. There's something incongruent here. Which is it, Riley? As the density of the medium increases, will an object rise or does it fall? And what determines what that direction will be? Do you have an answer for that, Riley? How about you, Mathieus? You got anything at all? Of course you don't. Riley's little experiment demonstrated that as density of the water increases, the egg moves upward. But in air, as the density of the medium increases, the egg moves downward and accelerates while it's doing it. So there must be something else going on here. Something Riley didn't account for. Some other force that provides a vector, the direction the egg will travel. What could that possibly be?
Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity!
That's right. It's gravity. And you know what? I can use math to reliably predict how long it'll take that egg to fall. The path it'll take on the way down. Its downward velocity as it crashes into the rocks below. Using math, I can calculate the neutral buoyancy of that egg in the water column. Something flerfs can't do, and that's why flerfs are afraid of math and they want it so badly to go away. Well, I've shown that math, when properly applied, can easily describe reality. Scientists, engineers, cashiers, factory workers, they do it every day. It's a fact of life. Riley's neutrally buoyant egg experiment actually debunks relative density as a force because objects act differently in different mediums of increasing density. He actually demonstrated gravity. Once again, a flerf, proving the globe. Flerfs are getting pretty good at that. Oh, writer of dinosaurs, the gentleman who created my intro video. Don't forget to subscribe to his channel. Well, I'm Mike the Engineer, and I'll see you next time.